Our next guest knows firsthand how tough presidential races can be. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz currently serves Florida's 23rd Congressional District, which encompasses Miami and Fort Lauderdale. But she also worked on Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign back in 2008 and is the former chair of the Democratic National Committee. Welcome to BNC Prime News, Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to join you, and congratulations on the launch of the network.
Thank you. We appreciate it so much. We know you work closely with Hillary Clinton, and you saw with the rest of America that although the polls thought she would win, there was, of course, a huge upset. Right now, Joe Biden is leading in the polls. Do you think it is possible that we could see him end up losing the race despite him currently being in the lead?
I think our focus right now is that we have to push every single day to get out the vote. This is run through the tape week. And we just have to make sure, as we have been every single day, focused on getting people to return their vote by mail ballots, getting people to cast an early vote where they're able to, and make sure that, all the way through Election Day, that we push the idea that it is so important that you exercise your precious right to vote and make sure that we can get this country turned around, because we are clearly moving in the wrong direction, and we need to end this long national nightmare that has been the Trump presidency.
Well, you also know Joe Biden well. What can you tell us about him that we may not know already?
Well, Joe Biden, whether he was a United States senator or the vice president of the United States, a really incredible and really workaday partner to President Obama, is a trusted, empathetic, honest, and decent person who has plans to make sure that we can do what President Trump should have done long ago: slay this pandemic, make sure that we actually have a national testing and contact tracing and strict isolation programs so that we can really make sure that we can keep people healthy and safe and slowly continue to reopen our economy. Unlike the president, whose chief of staff waved the white flag along with the president the other day and said, no, we actually can't get control of this virus because it's very contagious. I mean, that's just an outrageous statement to me. We need to make the kind of investments and have a president like Joe Biden who understands that the number one priority of a president is to keep people safe and healthy. And that's exactly what Joe Biden will do once he is president of the United States. And he also certainly will continue to make sure that we can expand access to health care and make sure that we protect people with pre-existing conditions like I have as a breast cancer survivor. That's absolutely critical. With Donald Trump in office, we'll lose 20 million people in this country will lose their health care coverage. And he's actually fighting in court to do just that, and trying to have Obamacare declared unconstitutional.
Congresswoman, your constituency in South Florida has a lot of black people from the Caribbean, Haiti, as well as African Americans. Democrats have been accused of taking the black vote for granted. What can you say to those people who may feel that way?
I think that this is an election in which we have been absolutely as aggressive as we can in making sure that we reach out to all communities. I've been really proud, having obviously presided over the National Democratic Party for 6 years. I know those complaints. Many times they were legitimate complaints. What I've been really proud of to see in Florida is that not only are we not taking the vote for granted, but we're honoring it. We're lifting it up. We're really creating organizations that are deeply organized in the African American communities, in the Caribbean American communities, and also being very specific ethnically. Because it's one thing to say, well, we need to organize in the Caribbean American community. It's another, like we have, to have Haitian American outreach directors, like we have here in Florida, and Jamaican American outreach directors like we have here in Florida. This is the first time that we've had ethnic group specific black organizers that have been really deployed by the Biden campaign, because the Biden campaign understands that the black community is not a monolith, that it is not one size fits all, and that they certainly should never be taken for granted.
We also know black voters have also been disenfranchised. What can be done about that after this election cycle, if anything at all?
Well, we need to make sure that we continue to fight the aggressive Republican attempts at voter suppression. That they have repeatedly done that over and over. Right here in the state of Florida, we passed a constitutional amendment Amendment 4 in 2018 because we still have the worst laws in the country that keep former felons, returning citizens, from actually having their voting rights restored. Over 60% of the voters in Florida voted to end that practice and allow people who are non-violent felons to have their voting rights restored automatically. And of course, the Republican legislature here, led by our governor, passed a law to make that much harder and require fines, fees, and restitution to be fully paid. That was litigated all the way to the state Supreme Court. And unfortunately, we only had about 67,000 returning citizens be able to register instead of the 1.4 million that should have been able to. It's really just one very clear example of how badly the Republicans want to keep specifically black voters from voting. But you've heard President Trump say specifically, in his own words, that he knows that if you have more people vote, that Republicans are a lot less likely to win. In America, that's one of the most precious rights we have. Everybody, Democrats believe, Joe Biden believes that we should expand the franchise, make voting more possible, not less possible, and certainly not use the intimidation tactics that I know I've seen at the polls used by Trump supporters to really frighten people away from the polls. It's an absolute outrage. But you know what? We're going to persevere, and we're going to make sure that, as we have seen, explosive turnout from 18 to 29-year-olds, from the African American community, from the Hispanic community, really from seniors too, who are all coming out to support Joe Biden because they know that, unfortunately, we have someone who has practiced really serious racism in this White House, really serious division, and really has deteriorated not only our economy but Americans' health, and it just has to come to an end.
Now, when President Trump had COVID-19, there was talk that Vice President Mike Pence might have to step in for him if he was not able to conduct his duties. Now, Senator Kamala Harris would fill that role of stepping in for Joe Biden if he wins. What can you tell us about Senator Harris, and is she ready to be the first female vice president and possibly one day president?
I was absolutely thrilled that my friend Senator Kamala Harris was asked by Joe Biden to join him as his running mate for Vice President of the United States, because she is ready on day one. This is a brilliant woman, someone who is focused and intelligent and quick-witted. I mean, to have watched her in the Judiciary Committee during the Kavanaugh hearings and see her cross-examine and ask really clear and important questions that got to the bottom of where these witnesses are coming from, and get real specific answers when you know they're trying to avoid them. That's so important, to have a partner who can complement your own skills. And that's why Joe Biden chose Kamala Harris. And to be quite frank, the historic nature of her candidacy, the first African-American woman to be on a national ticket, the first Caribbean-American woman to be on a national ticket, the first Asian-American woman, the first Asian-American to be on a national ticket, is just extraordinary. And I'm absolutely so excited about the opportunity to work with her when she and Joe Biden are elected President and Vice President of the United States next Tuesday.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz from the 23rd District in South Florida, we appreciate your time and all of your insights.
My pleasure. Thank you. Don't forget to vote.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.